hear me? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Good afternoon, and welcome to one of the first sessions of the conference. My name is Anna Hunsinger. I'm here representing Internet2 in the United States. I'm also a member of the program committee, so I welcome you to this session. The session title is NRENTs and User Communities, and we have a great set, 3 presentations from an outstanding set of speakers from different organizations that will essentially highlight how NRENTs today, beyond providing more than advanced networking capabilities, do much more than that in support of users. And in fact, they play instrumental key roles in also supporting services, collaborations, and an assortment of other things in support of their users, and of course, communities as well. So with that said, I just have a few announcements to make real quick before we get started. If everybody could take a moment at the end of the session to fill out your evaluation form, we would really appreciate it. Also, please make sure that you visit the demos that are outside and that will be also taking place all throughout the conference. We also would like to make sure that you visit the poster sessions. And last, for those of you that are hopefully planning to be at the opening reception tonight, please be made aware that at 7:15 p.m., the buses will be leaving from outside the hotel to take you to the reception. And then on the way back, the buses will also be making a number of stops at a number of metro stations too, and some hotels, including the Olympia Hotel, and then back to this hotel. So please be there 7:15 sharp. With that said, I'm going to give you the names of our speakers so that then we can proceed with each of their presentations. Our first speaker is Sandra Pakshir from SurfNet. Our second speaker is Nicole Gregory from also SurfNet. And our third speaker is Christopher Brown from the JISC Virtual Research Environment Programming, which he'll also be talking a little bit more about. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna, for the introduction. I'm delighted to be here to give this presentation. Thank you all for coming. I'm presenting in such a large room, I can hardly see you, but delighted to be here after the opening and the keynote speaker. First of all, I'd like to start my presentation with a question for you all. I don't know whether the lights can go up a little, that I can see some hands. My question for you is, whom of you is a member of an online community? Please raise hands. Okay, that's quite a lot of you. And how many online communities are you a member of? 5 or more? Okay. Maybe even 10 or more? Also. Okay, well, so am I. In preparing this presentation, I gathered all the communities that I am a member of, and they all say something about me. For example, they say where I live, which is the city of Utrecht in the Netherlands. So I'm a member of the LinkedIn group, which is about Utrecht, where we share news and discuss things that are going on in the city of Utrecht. But it also tells something about my profession. I'm a member of a community of community managers, and in that group we discuss issues we stumble upon and share tips and tricks with each other. And of course, they also say something about my profession at SurfNet. There are a lot of groups around ICT and education. I counted about 20 communities that I am a member of, either active or passive. Most of them I'm a passive member, I must admit. And seeing all these hands, it's a common thing because we live in a world where we are used to share, we are used to contribute, we are used to collaborate, to be on a lot of social networks. We are used to share with communities. So this is the world we live in, and users are common to deal with. So given that fact that users are used to contribute, they expect to contribute, a lot of companies take advantage of this phenomena and also ask communities what they think of their product. They want users to engage to their product. They even want them to co-create their products with them. So in this environment, and given the fact that as a national research network, we have a population of such bright people, academic people, researchers, teachers, students, given those two elements and add them, doesn't 1 + 1 makes 3 then? I think it does. Please let me introduce to you the special interest groups we have at SurfNet. To start with, by the way, my screen doesn't work, so I have to look back at me. The first one is Webstroom, which is about streaming video. We have a special interest group around web lectures. We have a community which is called Access is Use, which is about accessibility, online accessibility. We have a community Serve Direct, which is about digital rights. A special interest group which is called Virtuality, which is about serious gaming or virtual worlds. A community about digital learning and working environments. We have a special interest group about open educational resources. And a community around creative labs, which is about labs in higher education and research. And there is a special interest group around sustainability or green ICT. Thank you. A community of incident response teams and a special interest group of network administrators. And this list goes on because we are still working on new special interest groups, for example, around mobility or about tutors. So this list is still growing. So what's the definition at SurfNet when we talk about special interest groups? Well, for us, they are knowledge communities. And they are engaged to a specific topic around ICT and innovation. And of course, SurfNet's customers are higher education and research institutes, so that is where the community comes from. And who is a member of those communities? Well, mostly there are experts on that specific topics from higher education and research institutes in the Netherlands. And what do we aim for with these special interest groups? Well, we would like them to share their knowledge and their experiences with each other. They're all like-minded, and we expect them to share the knowledge. And by doing that, we hope that they will even collaborate with each other on projects or pilots. And in that way, in the end, we hope that these special interest groups can help higher education and research enhance and stimulate their innovation. That's maybe a high goal, but it works, I can tell you. So how do we organize these special interest groups? Most of them consist of a core team in which a chair is present, and that chair is an expert on the topic of that community. And it's someone from one of our institutes, a higher education or research institute. And he or she has one contact person within the SurfNet organization. And they are assisted by 2 to 5 experts, which are also working within one of our institutes. So what do? Well, they not only organize and stimulate the community online, for example, by organizing a LinkedIn group where the members can discuss topics and share their knowledge, but they also organize meetings. It's very important for a community not only to meet each other online, but also meet each other occasionally face-to-face. So most special interest groups have a meeting 2 to 3 times a year where they give presentations like this one, but in a smaller scale, and have discussions around issues they stumble upon. What do we do as SurfNet for these special interest groups? Well, we facilitate them. We have a community environment, which is a website. Maybe I can show you that later on. It's called SurfSpace. When you look at www.surfspace.nl, it's in Dutch, but that's an environment where the communities can post news items or an agenda or articles. So they have a platform to share their knowledge, not only within their own community, but also the other communities or higher education and research in the Netherlands in general. Like I said, they organize meetings, and we facilitate them by giving them the opportunity to meet each other in the SurfNet office. So they get a room, they can use their coffee, their tea, and stuff like that. So they don't have to pay for those facilities to meet each other. And we also organize an annual meeting with all the special interest groups, where all the special interest groups come together and share their knowledge among each other as well. And about 2 times a year, we also gather the chairs and inform the chairs about things that SurfNet is doing, the projects we are doing, the services we provide, and tell them about the development of our own organization that might be interesting for their community. So the chair always knows things first up hand. We ask all special interest groups to make an annual plan so they can tell us what their goals are for the coming year, what they would like to do, what they like to organize. And so we can facilitate them in a good way. And also look at things that match our own activities and see if there is a match and where we can facilitate them even more. So what's in it for the members of the special interest group? Well, first of all, they want to learn. They want to learn from other colleagues within other institutes. When they have a problem or an issue they're dealing with, they want to discuss this with someone from another institute that might have the same problem or the same issue, but they often don't know who that person is or where to find him. And in that community, they have the opportunity to do that, to learn from a colleague who deals with the same issues as he or she does. That's the most important thing for all the members in the community, learning. But also, there are a lot of opportunities where they can collaborate in projects with each other, and they make usage of that possibility. Of course, sharing experiences, news, articles, that's really helpful for all the community members. And in some cases, they even join their effort. They join forces and become a collective interlocutor towards a supplier, for example, when they say, hey, we are with a number of institutes and we are having this problem, or we would like this or that service, and they go to a supplier and ask for that. So they make a strong fist together. And they give advice. They advise us, advise SurfNet about trends that are going on, things they dealing with, and so we can maybe help them, or and we also can ask their advice if we are developing something or we are in a project. We can go through these communities and ask for their advice. What's in it for SurfNet? Well, we have the opportunity to have a dialogue with our end users through these communities. A dialogue where we can see what the issues are they are dealing with, see what the needs are the users have, but also to look to monitor the trends. We see what's going on in their worlds, and we can make a match. But we can also share our knowledge. We have a lot of expertise within our organization, within SurfNet, and we want to share these expertises towards these communities, and help them to innovate within their own institutes with our knowledge. We often know who these members are within these communities. We have contact with them, so we know who the innovators and early adapters are within our user group. And so we can have the opportunity to go to them and ask them to collaborate with us when we're doing a project or when we're doing pilots. That is very beneficial. And those communities can also be a test bed when we have a new product, or when we do a pilot. We can use these communities and ask them to test for us, and they are very willing to. And these communities can also help the awareness of our own portfolio. They know SurfNet, they know where to find us, and they know our services. So they're also like a channel towards more promotion for our own services. And of course, all these members have a lot of colleagues as well, so it's widely can be widely spread through these communities. I will give you some examples of results or benefits we had with these communities. For example, they can give us input when we are working on new services or when we are developing services. The screenshot you see over there is an interface of a service which is called Surf Media. It's a streaming video platform where users can upload their video or download videos that might help them in their work, in their lessons, in their research. And they're all relevant videos because it's higher education and research where the videos are about those topics. And when we developed this interface about a couple of years ago, we asked the Webstrom community to give feedback. We showed them wireframes and we asked them, okay, what do you think of this functionality? Should this button be here or there? And they gave us very useful feedback in the development of this user interface. That's an example, but we also see that within these communities, projects are established. For example, a project around web lectures, which has been a project that was still going on for a couple of years now. Or another project that's about an interface where teachers can make a profile, and on base of that profile, they get videos that are useful for their lessons, and that project even won a prize. So projects are also initiated by the community itself. And new special interest groups are founded as a result of SurfNet projects. For example, we did a project around web lectures, and we gave a large congress on that topic. And after that congress, a community stood up and founded a new special interest group around web lectures. We had another project around creative labs, which was a research project. And all the labs in higher education and research that were involved in this project, they said, we should continue this, and we should have a community and learn from each other. So new special interest groups are founded after projects as well. So as a national research network, if you are thinking, well, this might be beneficial for us as well, and you'd like to start too, I would like to give you some tips. We, as a national research network, you provide an infrastructure, you provide a network, you connect people. You could be able to use this opportunity to not only connect them in an infrastructural way, but also in a human way. You can be the matchmaker. There is a need among users to find people within other institutes who are dealing with same problems and issues they have, but they don't know where to find it. And you are in the middle of that. You are able to connect these people with each other, so you can be a matchmaker. If you want to start a community, or a community is started, it takes time. It doesn't go overnight. It takes time for a community to grow. It can even take a couple of years before you can actually have results of a community that is established. Not you should do the work, but the users do the work. You don't own a community. The community is something of the community itself. So the users, they have to be engaged. They have to work. It's not you that does the work. You will have to manage the expectations of these communities. I told you earlier that those communities often give us advice about things that we should do or should not do. We listen very carefully, but we don't always comply to what they ask for. We make our own, in the end, we make our own policy, and we can't do everything those communities ask for. So you have to manage these expectations and tell those communities what they can expect and can't expect of a national research network. Feed and seed and see what grows out of it. Like I said, it takes time, but if you feed them and share your knowledge, and well, it will certainly grow something beautiful out of it. And the last thing is open up the channel. Be open. It's might be very difficult, but communicate with these communities. Be open about where you are going to, what your policy is, what your services are, and be as open as possible about your own development. And then the communities will be open towards you as well. You have to be open. So that was my presentation. I don't know whether there are any questions at this time. Please. I think that mic doesn't work.
Okay. They told me they turn it on. Oh, thank you. Is this working? Yes. Okay, so the quick question that I have for you is, I think it's fantastic how you make each working group and the communities of interest also develop an action plan, which sounds to me as a great mechanism for getting the organization SurfNet also in line with what deliverables you expect and how where you expect to go. Can you elaborate on what happens when perhaps it's time to sunset a working group, or perhaps, you know, expand a little bit on what you put as checks and balances for when it may be time to close an interest group and make it something else, or move it to the next phase, or just say there's no more to do here? How do you do that?
Well, like I said, the community is owned by the community, and when a community is done, you will see that the activity goes down as well, and then you'll have to say, okay, we're finished. There's actually one special interest group which was about mathematics in education, and at one point they were done, and they also well, it was the community actually itself that said we are finished. We won't continue this community, which is fine too, because then the work is done. And in the ideal case, a community is founded is initiated by the community itself, but it is also closed by the community itself in the ideal case.
Any more thank you. Any more questions from the audience?
You spoke about community environment. I would like to know if you use any new tools like Elg or Drupal or BodyPress to manage or to facilitate knowledge sharing in your online communities, or do you do a patchwork with mailing lists, forums, and so on?
Do you mean the community environment that I was talking about? Yeah, I don't have a laptop, so that I can't show you, unfortunately. But it's a website. It's just a web environment, which is based on SharePoint at this moment. But we're looking at another environment to where people can more easily post their items and also have a profile and stuff like that. So well, you can have a look at surfspace.nl. It's all in Dutch, but you can see what kind of environment that is. I can't show you, unfortunately.
In most of the scientific communities, when they are talking about working group of whatever, they are always talking or meaning international level. So any community consists of one Japanese or one American and a few European or something like that, or maybe even a Brazilian. So this is what I mean by community. Now, if you limit this community to just SurfNet, I'm afraid I won't see too many interests among scientists. So I wonder how you will solve this problem.
Well, when we look at our end users, there are about 1 million people we provide services for, and well, that's a large number where you can organize communities for. So and they're not internationally. I agree. There are within our own target group. But it's sufficient. It works very well. So.
Quick question.
Alex Reid, Arnet, Australia. Can you give us a bit of an idea of the profile of the makeup of your user communities? You talked about 1 million users, but how many students do you actually have in your interest groups? And how many researchers or academics, or are they mostly the sort of IT technicians?
That depends on the subject of the community, of course. There are not a lot of students involved in our communities. They're mostly ICT-related employees, and most of the special interest groups we have now are education-related and not really research yet. But Nicole, my colleague, will present after my presentation, and she's focusing more on the research aspect. But most communities are more ICT-related people. So, if that was the last question, thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon. Oh, yeah, that's my first slide. Well, nice to see you all here. My name is Nicole Gregoire. I work at SurfNet, just like Sandra, and I'm a community manager research. That means that I'm responsible to the outreach of the scientific community. And my main focus is on network infrastructure, and in particular light paths. This talk will be about one of the activities we do to promote the use of light paths. I think, do you hear me or not? Okay, maybe it's just like, well, the outline of my talk is as follows. I will briefly say something about SurfNet's hybrid network. Then I will talk about the Enlighten Your Research contest, which is that activity that I was telling you about that we do to promote the use of light paths. We already held 2 contests, Enlighten Your Research 1 and Enlighten Your Research 2. So I will talk about those and what we have learned from them. Our present contest, which is running right now, is Enlighten Research 3. And we want to organize one more contest, Enlighten Research 4. So I will also talk about a little bit about that. Let's go back. The title of my presentation is Overstepping Boundaries, and I hope I can make clear what I mean by this. It can have multiple interpretations, and well, throughout the presentation I will say what I mean by this title. So briefly about SurfNet's network. Currently we are running SurfNet 6. It's a hybrid network with IP and fixed and dynamic live paths. We have 160 connected institutions and 11,000 kilometers of leased dark fiber. We are now running a tender for ServNet 7, which will be an upgrade from ServNet 6. It will be based on next generation Ethernet, and it will be a larger scale and provide hopefully more flexibility. So as I said, we have IP and we have light paths. And since when an institution is connected to ServNet, they will have IP. So every researcher is connected to the IP network and can use the internet. But we also have light paths, but they're not necessarily already connected to a light path. The light path need to be applied for, and of course, having a light path must contribute to the research. So, and it's not really easy to find. Well, it's easy to it's not really easy to find research projects that may benefit from light paths. So we had to think of, okay, we have those light paths, and how do we get them to the end user? So that's when we came up with Enlighten Your Research. I think Enlighten is really nicely found. That's the light path, Enlighten Your Research. It's a contest for researchers, and the main objectives are to create an awareness among researchers about the advantages of light paths that light paths can offer. Also to scout for innovative research projects that may benefit from light paths. And of course, to learn from the implementation process. I mean, we can have light paths, but if no one uses them, how do we know whether they work and whether they are really needed and how they need to be implemented? And to create best practices. So if we have best practices, hopefully other users will adopt them as well and want to use them. So as I said, we already held 2 editions. The first one was Enlighten Research 1 in 2007. We did this in collaboration with NWO. This is a Dutch organization for scientific research. And it was really useful to organize it in collaboration with them because, well, they have a large network, so the communication was mainly done by them to reach the scientific group. And also they did the scientific assessment, so you want to know whether whether the research really will benefit from a light path. So in this edition, we focused on fixed light paths, national or international, and they could submit a proposal involving 2 locations. So a fixed light path is just a light path between 2 locations. So the procedure was as follows. They first submit their initial proposal with just a short description about what they want to do. And then we received 20 submissions. And we assessed them on whether they were feasible, whether they were of good quality. And I think 15 of them 15 of them went to a second round. They received €5,000 to enhance their proposal, so they could deliver a more enhanced proposal, and we received 14 in this second round. In the end, we have 5 winners. They won a use of fixed light paths for 1 year and €20,000 award money. And then we had Enlighten Research 2 in 2009, again in collaboration with NWO. And this time we focused on dynamic live paths, and only national, so not international. And they could submit a proposal with a maximum of 5 locations. We had 7 submissions, and 5 of them went to the second round. Again, they received €5,000 to enhance their proposal. In the end, we had 3 winners with a total of 14 connections. And they won a use of a dynamic live path for 1 year, and again €20,000 award money. So we have learned a lot. Hey. Oh, sorry. Yes, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on these 3 winners, just to show you what type of submissions we had and who were the winners. So the first one is a proteomics project. Proteomics is a large-scale study to proteins, and they use mass spectrometers to investigate those proteins, and these mass spectrometers generate a large amount of data. And they cannot be processed just on a normal workstation. So what was the idea? They wanted to use the life science grid, like remote grid compute clusters. We have life science grids at, I think, 13 universities now, and it's maintained and operated by Big Grid. That's another, it's one of our partners. They asked for, oh, sorry. They asked for to connect the life science grids of the University of Groningen, of the University of Amsterdam, the Erasmus Medical Center, Wageningen University, Utrecht University, and what's not in this picture, but what they also wanted to connect was at the life science cluster at SARA. So that they could connect those clusters and have run their analysis on those clusters, so instead of on their own workstations. At this time, oh no, I'll continue. We also have the Pulsar project. They use radio telescopes to, they try to detect very rare pulsars. They have a telescope which also generates loads and loads of data, which they store in Groningen. They have a storage cluster there. And they, in Dwingelo, they do computing. They have a visualization server. For most of the work is done there. And they also have, at the University of Amsterdam, they also do visualization. And they wanted live paths between these locations to be able to process the data quicker and send it over faster than through regular internet. Then we have the Synagrid NL project, which consists of, they wanted 5 locations, but Technicolor unsubscribed from SurfNet, and then it was one of the conditions that you have to be an institute that's connected to SurfNet. So Technicolor was dropped in this project. We have the Movie Academy, which they make the movies, 4K movies. So that's they generate also a lot of data. It's about 4K movies, but the 4K screen is here. So they make the movies here, but they want to watch them there. So they use Lightpath connection to do real life streaming. They have storage at the University of Amsterdam and at SARA. So again, there are dynamic live paths between all these locations. So those were the three projects of the dynamic light path competition. From both competitions, we learned a lot. Okay. First of all, users are very happy with the LightPath service, but it takes a long run and a long breath, actually, before they can actually use them. It's not only for SurfNet to connect the LightPath it's often can be done quickly, not always, but often. But what we saw when we were doing those projects is that even when we connect the light path, our role does not end there. The projects who won really expected us to guide them through the end, and through the end I mean is through their own workstation. So not only connect the light path to the point of presence of SurfNet, but also help them with the implementation of the light path infrastructure at the campus. So we did not really expect that. We thought, okay, if we deliver the light path, they will, going to use them and everything will be fine. But no, we connect the light path, and after 2 months we ask, oh, are you still working with the light path? Yes, it is connected, but we cannot use it yet because we do still need to do a lot about the campus infrastructure. And if you don't go after them and say, okay, work on the campus infrastructure, they just don't do it. So we really we need to be prepared for that better, because it takes a lot of time to guide them through the whole process. Another thing, commitment between the parties involved is a must. What we saw a lot is that the researcher submits a proposal. He tells their ICT department, we submit a proposal for a light path, and I'm sure it will be working, but just so that you know. But then when they win, and then we actually want to connect the light path, then the ICT department said, but we don't have any money to do it, or we don't have any time to help with it. So there was no commitment from the ICT department, often no commitment, or there was just not good communication between the researcher at at a location and their ICT department to implement the whole end-to-end infrastructure. Also, campus infrastructures are not always prepared. If we connect 1 gigabit light path, but the campus infrastructure is just 100 megabit, then there's no use to connect a 1 gigabit light path. So the campus infrastructure also needs to be prepared for handling a light path. But then there is no budget to prepare the campus infrastructure. I mean, the ICT department says to the researcher, you want a light path, so you paid for what we need to connect it, and the researcher doesn't have any money. They only have money for people, for their own hours, but not for, often they don't get money to finance any infrastructural requirements or things they need. And of course we did give them 20,000 euro of award money, but the thing is that we did not say that they have to spend it on changes on the campus infrastructure. And often the money was already spent on a lot of other things, but not on what it should have been spent. So a lot of projects were standing still, or are still not running because of the campus infrastructure. So furthermore, we have learned that users want inter-domain international light paths, especially for dynamic light paths. As one of the persons who just asked a question, they said that people more and more, researchers more and more participate in international collaborations. Yes, that is true. That's what we also see. So if they want light paths between other institutes that they are working with, these other institutes are often international institutes. So, but I will come to that later. And also what we saw is that users need combination of light paths and computing and storage as dynamic resources. They have their own computers with little storage, with little compute time. So connecting a light path between their own workstations is not really useful. What they need as well is storage, a lot of storage actually, more and more storage, and compute time. So these are really important points that we took into account when organizing the next Enlighten Your Research contest, which is Enlighten Your Research 3. The topic is take your e-infrastructure to the next level. So as you can see, e-infrastructure, we do not focus on just on light paths anymore. We organized this competition in collaboration with Bigrit and Sarah, who bring into this competition storage and compute time. So in this way, we can offer the researcher a more complete package to take their research infrastructure to the next level. And also NWO is also a partner in this competition again. So I will elaborate on this competition a little bit more. It's running right now. The deadline was last week, so I have also some results already. That's really nice. So the proposal must have a minimum of 2 locations, and which must have a SurfNet connection. We did not promote the use of international light paths because we were also a little bit want to give them dynamic light paths, and they were allowed to ask for an international connection, but yeah, we did not promote it. Well, just as with the other competition as well, the scientific subject can be chosen freely, and they could ask for technologies such as remote storage, remote instrumentation, compute clusters, all offered by Sarah and Bikrit. And of course, most important is that the desired infrastructure has a clear added value to the research, and they should have made that clear that they what they want, that the research does benefit from it. Of course, commitment of the parties involved, and since we got some extra money, if we added a sustainability aspect in our competition, so they had to write a small paragraph on how their proposal reduces and contributes to the reducing energy consumption. Because in the Netherlands, the partners in the higher education sector signed an agreement to reduce energy consumption by 30% in 2020. So we wanted to promote that as well. And we just gave them some examples. So such as conference calls, sending data over the hybrid network instead of DVDs via regular mail, and green data storage. Prizes. So a little bit the same as the previous competitions, but now with the prizes from Bikrit and Sarah as well. So they could request storage with a maximum of 20 terabyte, compute time with a maximum of 20 core hours, for 2 years it is. Connectivity between the requested locations, and now I must say we do not necessarily connect those locations with light path. If IP seems to be sufficient, then we will do IP. If it needs fixed light paths, we will do fixed light paths. If it requires a dynamic light path, then we will implement dynamic light paths. They get support, and they get a grant of 10,000 euro to finance the necessary infrastructure. So in this case, we will we want to prevent again that there is no money to adapt to do any necessary changes to the campus infrastructure. So they have to make a budget, and they get 10,000 euro to finance any necessary infrastructure. If they do not use it, it will be granted as a free prize. So they also get, the main prize winners will also be awarded 10,000 euro award money, which they can spend freely. And the winner of the sustainability prize will be awarded 5,000 euro award money. If the winner of the sustainability prize is also one of the main prize winners, then the 5,000 euro will be on top of the 10,000 euro award money. The procedure is a little bit different from the other editions, because we want to make sure that there are no that the requested infrastructure is really feasible. So in the first round, they submit their team, the locations that they want to have connected. They write an abstract on maximum 500 words, and they write their view on sustainability. But then in the second round, again, we said we would choose a maximum of 10 proposals which would go to the second round. They also receive 5,000 euro to enhance their proposal. But instead of just leaving them by themselves to enhance their proposal, we want to guide them more now. So we launched a consultation round, and in this consultation round we will visit at least the main applicant, but also, if that is possible, all the locations involved in a proposal, and we will talk about technical feasibility of the connection. So is the campus infrastructure ready, and if not, what needs to be done and what will it cost, and who will pay for what. And also the organizational aspects. Who is responsible? Is everyone committed? And in this way, we want to be sure that when the winners will be announced in November, that we can start early 2012 with the implementation, and that it will take not more than 6 months, and that everyone will be up and running, and that we, not like this, that we are 2 years later, we are still dealing with some projects that need to be connected. And all these findings need to be stated in their final proposals. So, as I said, the deadline was last Thursday. We received 14 proposals, varying from 2 locations to 13 locations, a total of 45 connections. 4 proposals requesting only light path, so no services of our partners, and 4 requested international connection. Oh. And so now we are assessing, we are reading the proposals, and we will see which of those 14 proposals, which 10 will go to the next round, and then we will do the consultation round, and hopefully that will make we can make sure that everything that we want to do, or that they want to do, that can actually be done. And I think in this summer I need to think about the next Enlighter research. As I already said, researchers participate more and more in international collaborations. So we need international light paths. But we cannot do that alone as SURFnet. We need other NRENs as well. So what is needed for international collaboration? Well, of course, international dynamic light paths. Fixed light paths are often easy to implement and to realize, but dynamic light paths, that's more a problem. There need to be light path services in other countries, and there need to be an inter-domain protocol, so that if you want to set up a dynamic light path, that it can that our protocol can speak with the protocol of other NRENs to set it up. And of course, we need contacts at remote institutes and at the local NRENs. So my talk is almost finished. I just want to say for now, we are really interested in organizing our next Enlighter research around international dynamic light paths, but I need you, and I'm not sure how many NRENs, other people of NRENs are here now, but I really want to talk about how we can realize this competition and what is needed for that. And so I don't think there is time now to discuss it, but please come up to me if you want to talk about it. I'm here all week, so thank you for your attention.
We have a few minutes for questions.
Thank you. Malcolm Reed from JISC. You mentioned that the projects have to rely on light paths and add value, as it were, to light paths. Is it NWO who's checking that they are scientifically valuable projects as well? Because they must be enormously expensive and need justifying on traditional research and science grounds.
NWO is doing the scientific assessment, and people from SURFnet, and in this edition also Sarah and Bikrit, are assessing the technical feasibility and innovative, whether it's innovative or not. But we all only want to know from NWO whether what the scientific quality is of the proposal. Is that a little bit, because I did not understand maybe all of your question, but okay.
Ernst Harry from Switch. Do you have figures about the traffic load on these links? How they were used?
Yes. Do you mean whether they are used or not? Or how often or something? Yeah, well, at this point, many of the connections are delivered, but as always with scientific projects, everything is really slow. So they have plans with the light paths, but they not everyone really use them yet. Like the Synagret NL project will use them within a few months. Pulsar project is using them, and the proteomics project, they also have to meet with each other and look into how they will use it. So it's very new for them too. So they're not used yet, and we are really evaluating all the time. So whether they are really using it. Oh.
Hello. Alex Reid of ARNet in Australia. I'd be very interested to find out about the projects that you've had in the past and that are ongoing at the moment. Have they been written up anywhere so that we can see what sort of activities have actually resulted from the contest and from the distribution of light paths?
You mean what the true benefit is of the...
Yes.
Yes.
Like a case study.
Yes.
For each case.
As I just said, that most of the projects can use it now, but are starting to use it. So we are really on them now to ask for results. But I cannot show you any results yet. I hope it will be between now and, let's say, 3 months or something. But because they are really close now to really using them and to really test them, what the benefit truly is using the light paths, but not yet.
And from ARNet's point of view, we're happy to contribute light paths to your projects if anybody wants to connect with anywhere in Australia.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our last speaker, Christopher Brown.
Right, good afternoon. Oh, God, that's quite loud, isn't it? Okay. I'm Program Manager at JISC, as it says up there, in the Digital Infrastructure team. And I'm going to talk about the VRE program, a whistle-stop tour of the VRE program going back a few years. But in case you don't know, JISC provides world-class leadership in the innovative use of ICTs for education and research. That's the mission of JISC. Now, I do wear 2 hats, in that I joined JISC as the Access and Identity Management Program Manager. If this works, that one. Because I'm talking about the VRE program, but it all fits in within the research team, within the digital infrastructure team, which deals with cloud, software as a service, data management, communication, community engagement, access and identity management, and VRE. So that's where the VRE program sits within JISC. Now, when the program started, we decided to come up with hadn't joined them, but a definition of what a VRE is, a virtual research environment, which comprises basically a set of online tools and other network resources and technologies to interoperate with each other, basically to facilitate and enhance the research process. That's throughout the whole research life cycle. And to do that within and across institutional boundaries, and that could be nationally or internationally. But the key characteristic of a VRE is that it facilitates collaboration amongst researchers and research teams, basically to improve their research process, allow them to collaboratively collect, manipulate, manage data, as well as collaborative knowledge creation. So there have been 3 programs since 2004. I'm just going to really run through those projects in a couple of slides. Then concentrate more on the 4 demonstrators and then some more details of the 10 projects. So there's quite a bit to go through, so I do apologize in advance if it's a bit too much. But basically, within those 3 programs, which have run after each other, they all have the same commonality in that they involve collaboration, large and small scale research, as well as single multidisciplinary research. So VRE1 was started as a sort of experimental program looking at applying VLE approaches to research. And I'm not going to run through these programs, each project, as I said, but basically in these domain areas, mostly natural sciences, social sciences, excuse me, arts and humanities, and cross-domain as well. And also across a number of technologies, Sakai, there's some generic ones, domain-specific, and portals. So that was it about VRE1, but I'm not concentrating on that because it was a bit of a while ago, and that has really fed into future VRE programs. So some of the work you'll see later from the VRE1 projects have fed into the VRE2 and the VRE3 program. But the VRE2 program is more about creating demonstrators that could be VRE exemplars, more developmental, user-centric, and research-focused. So sort of defining VREs in the first program and then building on that to create demonstrators in the second. So those 4 demonstrators are basically these 4 projects, which I'm just going to run through in a bit more detail than the first program. So the VRE for study of documents and manuscripts. Well, basically, within the arts and humanities, researchers are deciphering documents like this, as well as engravings like that, and using access grid. And this is sort of the way they would do it in the past. So it's trying to create a virtual research environment that they could collaborate and basically decipher some of these documents and manuscripts. So the environment was pretty much to have an image viewer, allow you to make comments along here with images and transcriptions there, as in this example. This button doesn't seem to work very well. This is an example of looking at a Jane Austen manuscript here, Persuasion, and someone commenting on text. So they can annotate the text, comment on here, and this is all recorded, and they can work in a collaborative environment. So they can discuss what this bit of text might mean. CREW, the collaborative research events on the web. This built on 2 projects from VRE1, which basically involved semantic linking of data and annotating access grid meetings to build, so I'm not going to go through that in each detail, but that's a flow chart of how they annotating meetings. Whoops, wrong button. So here we are, we've got the people meeting here. It's being annotated along here, and this is all recorded, and then they can go through that in the future. So it's a virtual environment for researchers to communicate and collaborate again. My experiment's quite an successful project from VRE2, and you can still go here to myexperiment.org. Basically, it was advertised as Facebook for scientists, but it's slightly different to Facebook. It's basically a community for scientists to share their workflows and their research methods, a community social network for scientists, basically. So that started back in 2007, and when I last looked, which was April, they had 3,000 members, 200 groups, 1,000 workflows, 300 files, and 100 packs. And a pack is pretty much files, anything can be within a pack. So we have this workflow, the social process of science, where basically going through the process of experimentation, producing results. These are stored in repositories, printed out, stored into digital libraries, creating virtual learning environments. So I'm not usually used to presenting such a fun on such a big screen, actually, but up there, virtual environments. But from that, they've taken the data, the metadata, and workflows, and incorporated it into this environment, which is my experiment. So it does have a number of features where this is like the workflow here, and it's the person who's created it, with various content within it. And the idea behind that is people can reuse these workflows. There have been a number of examples where workflows have been used across domains successfully. The virtual environment for research in archaeology is based at a site in Silchester, which is an old Roman fort, which was abandoned when just at the end of the Roman occupation of Britain. And it wasn't built over, so it's a great site for excavating, for looking at Roman remains. And they've created a virtual research environment. But they had a number of issues with collecting data in the field, because usually it's quite a sort of manual, paper-based, record-keeping process, and quite dirty in the field. And how you could improve the collection of that information. So they use things like digital pens, measuring information like that, all fed, and cameras, all fed back through to a network, to a central database. And they tried collecting with mobiles, tablet PCs, which obviously we do have some sunny summers in Britain, but have reflection problems. And one of the most successful was using this sort of digital pen, collecting on a sort of standard sheet there. And that all gets fed into an archaeological database that can be viewed by archaeologists across Europe. So those are the 4 demonstrators. And again, this led into the VRE3 program. Now, after creating the demonstrators, this was more about how to build communities and looking at embedding and extending the take-up of virtual research environments. And it says it's open-ended rolling program. It did actually come to an end in March 2011, but there'll be some follow-on funding I'll mention at the end of this talk. So I joined actually the VRE program, took over the VRE program just at the end of 2010, so that's sort of where I came in. But phase 3 was really, like I said, about embedding, and more, rather than just creating a purpose-built virtual research environment like the 4 demonstrators, it was more about looking at developing the frameworks and standards, and then encouraging the development of population VREs across domains and rather than just specific VREs that solve one particular purpose. So I'm just going to look at this area here, because this really just shows how these earlier programs fed into the VRE3 program. We also produced some reports that are available on our website, a longitudinal VRE study. I'm just going to look at these 3 bits here, which basically are 3 strands within the program. We have the VRE tools, the frameworks, and the interoperability. And I'll just look at these in, some detail. But the IBBRE project was really looking about internet-based behavioral research for developing interventions. And they came up with this Life Guide online website, which basically enables researchers to design interventions, going through a sort of process of tailored advice, people prompting with questions and looking at the answers, and then following up the answers from that. So it's all about the people's behaviour, and within a VRE. That was at Southampton, that last one I should have said. This was at Lancaster. We also have a number of projects which have built on Sakai. This is really about looking at the business professionals in the university, linking up with businesses outside of the university, and how you create a virtual research environment where you can communicate between the researchers, people within the institution, as well as the people outside of the institution that they're cooperating with in business. This briefly mentioned the VRE Rapid Innovation Programme. I'll come to that later, but that's was a short program for funding 4-month projects, and that they also did this one here as well. It's about building this a larger scale e-community of smaller enterprises. So sort of that linking with the business community. At the University of Oxford, they've been looking at the cancer imaging virtual research environment. It's quite interesting because they've developed this thing called RIC, the Research Information Centre, with the British Library and Microsoft, and a lot of that functionality, this was using SharePoint 2007. And a lot of the information that they fed back for the testing they fed back to Microsoft has that, and RIC 2 now here, it was RIC 1, I have to admit it was a bit buggy, but RIC 2 has been sort of, some of the functionality within there has been fed into SharePoint Server 2, 2010. But the actual portal itself really involves the collaboration services, data services for storing the actual cancer images, and this access, annotating it, basically. So it's sharing cancer images. And here it just shows you when you're storing the images, you creating this metadata for the image. This is where the images are stored. This is really showing the images. And the beauty of this is you can annotate these doctors, surgeons, people can annotate the actual images here and store within the VRE. I know that that's a bit of a horrendous slide, but it's a poster for the One VRE project. But I kept it as it is because it really does show how it fed from the earlier Crew project, looking at annotating meetings and events, and some Critter VRE as well, and how that sort of fed into One VRE, which is really linking up researchers with the Access grid so that they can actually share data and resources. And this has allowed secure authentication using proxy certificates, as we're using Sarongs, which is Access and Identity Management Program. Like I said, I wear two hats. And that's been successful for recording lectures, for example, physics lectures within Manchester, and then sharing out. There has been some issues with licensing, because when you're recording people's lectures, there's surprisingly quite a few licensing issues. The BRAIN project at Coventry has been looking at how you can link up research within an institution. It seems quite common in a lot of institutions that researchers don't know what's going on within their institution, not just within their own departments, but within other departments. So they've created this environment here where you can search on expertise and find like-minded people within your institution. But also, it does some very clever researcher matching. So actually just linking a researcher to other researchers, people that you wouldn't normally expect to have any sort of anything in common with in some other domain, can be linked up by using sort of some clever algorithms. LinkSphere at Reading is creating basically a virtual interface to all their repositories within Reading. Again, it's got a social network part to it, allowing social interaction and collaboration, and accessing these repositories as an example, and the website there. I know I'm not going through each project, but it's really trying to give you an overview of the sort of different areas that we've been funding under the VRE3 program. So I hope that's what I'm doing. And Text VRE at King's is basically for e-humanities textual studies, building on the German text grid infrastructure. And the idea is that with this, it's looking more to how to embed into the everyday research activities. So a researcher just uses their VRE as part of their process. It's sort of it's integrated within their institutional infrastructure and their everyday research work. And Frick, another one at Southampton, is again built on VRE1 project core within the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital. And again, this is one that's used some functionality from previous project, the My Experiment project. And this is looking at the healthcare process, basically developing research trials, and it's an aid for these orthopaedic surgeons to develop healthcare clinical trials, and they've developed 33 so far. So that's proved quite successful within the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital. And there's a link there if you want for more information. This Connected Works project is basically, to put simply, a one-click publication sharing system. So when you publish your paper, it gets automatically put into the institutional repository, you add it to your online profile, and then sort of, again, it's trying to find connections within the network. So those were the projects from the VRE3 program, and you don't have to worry, I'm not going to go through all those projects there, all 14, but we also did a rapid innovation. It's something that we had looked at in other programs within the digital infrastructure team, where we fund projects for just 4 months to do, generally using agile methodology, to just create something very quickly within, like I say, 2 to 4 months, rather than looking at a longer time frame, and to see what useful things they could produce within that time. So I'm actually just going to concentrate on 2 here as an example, but these are, we funded 14 different projects across a number of institutions. And it is quite a different way of working. So they're doing blog postings, tweeting with in the hashtag, rather than sort of the usual way of doing progress reports, and we have final reports within JISC for projects. But the Amy project at Cambridge is trying to develop a system for bench scientists when they're interacting with the fume hood, basically. So how they can use they're looking at how to use innovative modes of communication. So we have our friendly, mad-looking scientist there with their ID badge logging in with this RFID reader. So, and everything within the lab is tagged. So they can basically record an experiment, for example here, actually making a cup of tea, quite important for English people. But so each step in the process is recorded. And obviously, this is building to something like feeding into an eLab notebook, because within that environment, it's not always easy if it's sort of a manual experimental in the lab environment. It's not always easy to record into a electronic notebook. So this is trying to use things like tagging to make it a lot easier. And here shows you the files that are stored. They have sensors linked up here. It's monitoring the temperature of tea. And then another sensor here is all fed into the environment. And the other one, Blog My Data, Godiva is an environmental science application, which is very visual, and this is trying to link up between the Godiva project, well, the environment, and the blog within at Reading, so that you can actually blog about the data, and it ties up between the two. So it's that communication again between researchers, how you can sort of do your research, look at your, in this case, sort of environmental science information, and have a chat about it. So that's a sort of run through of all the VRE projects. Great. So, like I said, the VRE3 program ended March this year, so I just thought I'd give a brief overview of where we are at the moment. So we're looking to fund also another set of rapid innovation projects, so this is where we look at leading edge technologies. But also, a call is going to go out in the next couple of weeks for basically follow-on funding for some of the VRE3 projects, looking at how they can take those and sort of embed them and build more of a user community around them. So, and also some of the work within the VRE program at the moment has been looking at the internationalization of VRE. So as part of, we're part of the Knowledge Exchange Working Group, VRE Working Group, which involves JISC, SUR Foundation, DFG, and DEF from Germany and Denmark. So we are trying, through the Knowledge Exchange, to look at how we can potentially do some joint work on VREs, because there's a lot of commonality between countries on this work. Also, through the Knowledge Exchange, we're quite interested in the starter kit that's been produced within SURF, and how we can produce something like that to give people, researchers who want to create a VRE, sort of an information, basically an information, as we would call an info kit, and SURF calls a starter kit. And also SURF Connects is this interesting environment using open social, which we're looking at, quite interested. And the Project Bamboo is funded by the Mellon Foundation. That's at Oxford, 8 institutions in the States, 1 in Australia, I believe. So we're just keeping in touch with the work they're doing, so we sort of find out what's going on in that area. And Terina, because I attend those meetings as Access and Identity Management Program Manager, and one of the things we're looking at also is the access and identity management issues within VREs, especially when you're doing international collaboration. If you want to get if you're collaborating with an institution, it's quite straightforward relatively, and then you move on to the national level and you have to collaborate. How can you use, your institutional credentials to log into the VRE? And of course, if you want someone internationally to do it, it adds a bit of complexity. So that's an area we'll be looking at. And VRC, basically shorthand for the virtual research community. So how to engage the general public, this open science, citizen science we talk about. How to build up the community, because it's all very well funding projects for 1 to 2 years, but then, what happens next? We can't fund these things forever. They have to become sustainable, and so they need to build up a community and be paid for somehow. And also, I mentioned with the AMI project, looking more at the virtual laboratory, how mobile interfaces, hybrid environments, hybrid reality, eLab notebooks. I mean, one of the things the AMI project also looked at is how you could use the Microsoft Connect system to sort of control your experiment by waving your hands around in front of a Connect system. So those sort of environments. And then, like the eLab notebooks. So that's me and my details. That's Program Director for eResearch, Matthew Dovey. A couple of hashtags. More information is on the website for those projects. I know I rushed through some of them, but the idea was that if anything takes your interest, you can see the information on the slides or look on our website. Finished slightly early. Any questions?
Hi, any questions for Chris? Well, thank you, Chris. And I thank everybody. I think we're actually past the time, but appreciate everybody being here, and thank you to the great speakers. I also understand that mobile phone has been found, so if you're missing your phone, they're holding one at the registration desk. So please visit. And don't forget to fill out your evaluation form.